Messenger, and I'm here with Toby and Grace Johnson, who are going to share some memories about D-Day and World War II and what things were like in Baldwinsville and over in Europe at that time. Maybe you could just start out by telling us a little bit about yourselves. And you both were born and raised, and you were saying you were born in Cato but raised in Beeville.
Yeah, right.
And grew up right in the village.
Yes.
Right around the corner.
Yeah, I was around the corner from her, living for quite a few years.
Went to Baldwinsville Academy.
And got married in
1941.
Okay. And then shortly thereafter, you got called up.
Right.
For the war.
Yes.
And why don't you just tell me a little bit about what happened then?
Well, there was four of us left Baldwinsville. We were the first ones, and went to Fort Niagara. And after we got there, we split, and I don't know where they went. Then I went to South Carolina, trained with the horses because there was horse-drawn field artillery at the time. Then we got transferred to Oklahoma with the horses, got rid of them there, and got mechanized, and then we trained there for six years, about a year.
I followed him around.
Yeah, about a year, and then
it was the following December 7th when war broke out. Up until that time, you were only supposed to be in for 1 year.
Yeah.
And then when we heard that, the war broke out. And
then they canceled everything. It was in for the duration then.
Right. Okay. And at that point, did you come back here, or?
No, where were you? You were transferred someplace else.
Pine Camp? I think I went to Pine Camp after that.
Okay, this is into 42 now.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe so. You were there. We were there about 5 months, I think, or 6 months.
Yeah, and they issued us all kinds of heavy clothing. Wanted us to. We figured we were going to Alaska, and shortly after that, they took it all away from us and sent us in the Mojave.
The desert.
Yeah, the desert. Yeah, and we trained out there. And then we trained in Tennessee on maneuvers, both places.
So they moved you around quite a bit in that year.
Yeah.
And then when did you finally get shipped over?
You got to remember that. I can't.
Well, it had to be in 43, and we were in Lebanon, Pennsylvania, bitterly cold in the wintertime.
I know we was one of the biggest convoys that left New York City, for overseas. And we landed in Plymouth, England.
And then
we stayed there and trained for the invasion. And I remember we were out in the channel 2 or 3 times, thought we were going to, this is going to be it. And then the weather was bad, so we had to, go back in. So we really didn't know when the thing was going to come about.
And what was the unit you were with?
5th Armored Division, 71st Field Artillery, 5th Armored. And then we went second day after the invasion. The infantry went, and then the field artillery followed them.
And you landed on Omaha?
Omaha.
Do you remember anything much about that day, or?
Well, one thing that stands out is the bodies that were floating around in the, where they got shot.
By that time,
and they were all over the place.
yeah, the second day, that
Yeah.
was pretty bad.
Yeah.
And then you stayed right on.
He went right on through. He went into France and right on through to Germany. And, well, we had the Battle of the Bulge there, too. That was kind of rough.
Mm-hmm. Did you get injured at all during the whole time?
No, I didn't have a scratch. I thought there was times I was supposed to get it, but
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah, that's lucky. Now you were home at this time with a baby,
Mm-hmm.
and you were back in Baldwinsville, or were you?
I was in Baldwinsville. He was overseas a year and a half, and I was home with our son, who was born in 43. He was born February 43.
That was before you left. The son was born.
Which we got to go to Buffalo on Monday, and I got to go to school where our son teaches, and
Uh-huh.
they want all the veterans that landed.
Oh, that'll be
They're going to
neat.
have a big thing there.
Great.
He's a history buff. He's a social studies teacher, and he's
Mhm.
quite excited about his father
Uh-huh.
coming.
Now, what was it like for you to be home alone with the baby, or did you have family?
I was basically alone, and it was lonesome. And I was so thankful that I had a little boy,
Yeah.
because he was good company.
Yeah.
And I wrote a letter every single day for that year and a half that he was overseas.
Did you get the letters in big bunches?
No, not really. They come, well, yeah, not big bunches, I wouldn't say, but, you might get 3 or 4 at a time.
Yeah.
And I don't think I ever got any real
Yeah.
big. The mail got through pretty good over there.
Yeah.
I
Were you
think.
able to write back at all? Or?
Oh, yeah. I tried to write every day, but some of the days,
Yeah.
most of the time I was over there, I couldn't get it every day. But
Yeah.
when we had rest periods,
Yeah.
I used to write.
Mm-hmm. And have you ever been back over to Europe at all?
No, but I'd sure like to go there someday.
A lot of, I've seen a lot of different vets going over there now,
Yeah.
and just retracing their steps, remembering what it was like.
His outfit has a reunion.
Every year,
Mm-hmm.
the 5th Armored Division.
Mm-hmm.
And they have tours, if you want to go.
Yeah. That sounds interesting. Now, back in Baldwinsville, were any specific things you remember about the time? Like, a lot of people talk about the rationing and the watchtowers and different things like that.
Yeah, well, I remember it was rough getting food and having enough stamps. And there was one little grocery store in the neighborhood where I lived that would get a ration of butter, real butter in every once in a while. And the the owner would hide the butter under the counter and just save it for certain people. And that was frustrating.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time when we were in Watertown, when he was at Pine Camp, I bought groceries and I had hot dogs in a bag, and from one grocery store, and then I was going into another grocery store, so I didn't want to take the hot dogs into the store with me. When I came out, a dog was running down the street with my hot dogs, and I'd only had those few stamps for him.
Yeah.
So that was,
It was frustrating.
yeah,
I'll bet.
it was memorable.
What was it like over in Europe? Do you remember what the morale was like for the guys going through there?
Oh, I would say it was pretty high,
Yeah.
Everybody, I guess, was scared.
Yeah.
If they're not, they weren't human.
Yeah.
Uh,
It strikes me how.
being so young, when you're,
Yeah.
when you go over, like when I went over on a ship, I was wondering how I was going to feel when I saw that first dead German. But
Yeah.
after the first one, there was nothing to it
Yeah.
after that, because it was either you or him.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Did your unit suffer a lot of casualties?
Yes, I lost one good friend that taught me how to cook, really, when I was in there. He was a dietitian when he got drafted, so he took me under his arm and, taught me cooking. And yeah, I lost a lot of them in the Battle of the Bulge, because we were the first German troop, or the American troops, to go through the Siegfried line, and when after we got in there, the Germans come around behind, penned us in there, so we had to fight our way back out, and that's when we couldn't get no more ammunition in, and that's when we really suffered a lot of casualties.
But you made it through there without a scratch.
Right. Yeah.
And when did you feel at certain points when, like, the war was really turning around, like the momentum was really in your favor?
Well, yeah, I used to think that when I see all them bombers coming over, and, just one after another, so many of them coming, all figure, well, how can anybody live through bombing? But they did.
Yeah.
It didn't shorten the war that quick as I figured it was going to.
Yeah. So how long a period of time were you there? 5 months? You say that you were actually from the time you landed on the beach?
I can't remember. Ask Bob. He knows all that stuff. How long was that, Bob?
Got me.
But anyways, a year and a half.
I was a year and a half over there, and most of that time we was training. I mean, so it was probably close to that, anyways.
Yeah. And then you got you came straight out after that, or did you get
Well, we had sort of a good rest period, and then I had enough points to come home. And after we got home, they were taking cooks and truck drivers. I forget another one. They're ready for Japan. They wanted to give us I forget, a month vacation, and then report back into Japan. But they didn't grab me for some reason or other. I guess maybe on account of the points I had, to get out. So, but it wasn't long after I got out, the Japan war was over anyway.
Yeah.
So.
You were probably glad to see him back again.
Yeah, I went to New York and met him, and they planned it, and we had a couple of days there of sightseeing. And that was a happy time.
Yeah.
Because it was worrisome. It was, it was unreal living like that, because you didn't know from one day to the next what was going to happen.
Did you feel like people even here were worried about
Oh, yeah.
what might happen?
Yeah, it was a very uneasy atmosphere.
And after the war ended, do you remember celebration?
Well, we didn't do anything.
Yeah.
We're just so glad to be together and and have a
Right.
little boy.
And he probably sprouted up a lot since the last time you saw him.
Yeah, he's about almost ready to retire.
Okay. Was there anything else that you remember that you want to mention? That was unusual or interesting?
No, I guess not. I can't think of anything else. Just grateful that he came home whole. I used to wonder, though, how any of the soldiers could endure that, not knowing they were going to be hit
Right.
or what. It had to have been a very nerve-wracking thing to endure.
Yeah. And now you've been married 53 years.
Yeah.
So a lot of time has passed since then.
Yeah.
Well, great. Good luck to you, and thanks for sharing your
Thank you.
memories.
Thank you, yes.
Enjoyable.
And I guess we'll wrap it up here then, Bob.